Hi! Today's video is gonna be about slow cone weave exercise. Its main focus is to make you to be able to lean your bike from side to side really fast. So, let's do what we did with the circle video. I'll demonstrate the correct way of doing it first, and then I'll show you some common mistakes, alright? The main problem that new riders usually have with the slow cone weave exercise is the lack of complete understanding of counter steering. Bear with me for a second and I'll explain what I mean. Now, everyone knows what happens when you are going straight and then turn the handlebars. You turn the wheel for a moment and bike leans in the other direction, hence the name counter steering. Then the front wheel automatically turns and you just proceed to go into the direction of the lean. Easy enough. But what happens if after you leaned your bike, you now manually turn the front wheel more than necessary into the turn? Guess what? It's also counter steering. Your bike will start to flip to the other side. That is essentially what happens when you make a slow cone weave. An experienced rider views this process like he's just turning the handlebars into the turn. In reality, when he thinks he is turning the front wheel into the turn, he is making a counter steering input, which makes the bike to flip to the other side. It all seems a little counterintuitive at first, so people try to tell you that, oh, you are doing counter steering at first, but then you do a direct steering, or you're making a dip in front of the weave, or something like that. No, a weave is just a series of counter steering inputs. And just because each counter steering input requires time to flip the bike, it just seems that you are steering into the turn. Hope it makes sense. After all, due to Occam's razor, it's the most easy and simple explanation, since it has only one entity, counter steering. Okay, it's just a minute of some nerdy humor. I know it can seem a little bit convoluted, so please ask me in the comments if it doesn't make sense. But I hope it does. But anyways, let's move on. Now, please notice my upper body and head position. It makes sense to keep your body vertical. This way your bike flips faster from side to side and it has more lean angle, which really helps to clear the cones, especially if you have saddlebags. Your main vision should be straight ahead. Detect the cones with your peripheral vision. By the way, this exercise really enhances your peripheral vision, so don't underestimate it just because it's easy. Also, with your peripheral vision, try to plan your front tire placement. Try to imagine a line where you want to place your front wheel about a second later. And notice that I don't hurry to flip the bike as soon as I cleared a cone. I give the bike some time to go past the cone in leaned position. This way I don't hit the cone with my rear tire or saddlebag. Since this exercise goes pretty much at the same speed, you don't need too much work with clutch or rear brake. Just keep the throttle slightly opened, keep your speed more or less constant with the clutch, and use very little rear brake. If you have to push rear brake really hard, it means you released the clutch too much. By the way, if you have cable, clutch and throttle, be sure that cables adjusted correctly, because if they are not, you are going to have self-acting throttle and clutch when you try to turn your handlebars too much. If you do everything correctly, place your vision far ahead, look for the line with peripheral vision, give a bike little throttle, be in friction zone and make a good, conscious counter steering inputs to swing the bike from side to side, you shouldn't have any problems at all. Now let's move on to the mistakes. I would say the single most common mistake looks like this. A student goes really slow and tries to navigate through the cones with the bike being almost upright. And he stares directly at the cone in front of him. Don't do that. Maintain constant speed through the whole exercise, swing that bike from side to side, look far ahead, and you'll be good. Second mistake looks like this, when student don't use counter steering and tries to go through the course using his body weight. It just never works. Your mass is much less than mass of your motorcycle. Use counter steering instead. It's much more efficient. Next two mistakes I forgot to record on Vulcan, so I'll show you them on the Duke. But they look pretty much the same on heavier bikes. Third mistake I personally call lazy steering. It's when the student fears to push the handlebars with force, and as a result his swings look like this. Here how they should look like at comparison. Don't be afraid to push handlebars harder. On the most road bikes you can easily scrape your pegs while doing a weave, so don't be afraid. Make a good wide swings. And fourth mistake looks like this. I exaggerate, of course, but it's something like that. It's when the student thinks he's pushing the bars really hard, but in fact he's pushing himself more. You should physically turn the front wheel to make a good counter-steering input, so sit firmly in the saddle and push the handlebars, not yourself. And I think that's pretty much it. Slow cone weave is quite easy, but still very useful exercise, so don't skip it. If you like this video, please put a like under it, share it with your friends and join my Facebook group for new riders. There you can ask me anything, I'll answer, and other people may see it later. So it will be useful. Thank you for watching. Bye.